Date with a Debut is recorded and produced on Awabakal country. Always was, always will be, Aboriginal land.
The first course I did at the Australian Writers' Centre was the big game changer for me. It was that course that made me realise that it's in some ways something that can be learned. I suppose that was what really made me realise when you do get to the point of having an agent or a publisher, there's a lot of feedback.
Welcome to Date with a Debut, a podcast about debut authors, their incredible books, and their journeys to publication. If you are looking for a new author to discover or writing inspiration for your own story and you don't know where to start, this is the place to be. I'm Nick Wasiliev, host of the show, and I'm delighted to welcome another debut author in today's episode. You can find any books mentioned in today's podcast down in the description. We will discuss mild spoilers ahead, so I recommend you grab yourself a copy of the book now, or at least very soon. Wherever you are listening, thank you for listening with us and supporting the Australian book industry, and if you enjoy the show, hit us with a review, a rating, or a thumbs up wherever you get your podcasts. Lastly, this episode is brought to you by Podpixels, the ultimate storytelling tool for passionate podcasters. More on them later in the show. So today's episode of Date with a Debut comes with a small trigger warning. This book and interview contains topics of mental health, pregnancy, fertility issues and more. If these issues are something that affects you or might be a trigger, you can contact PANDA on 1300 726 306 or the ForWhen Helpine on 1300 242 322. I'll also include other resources in the description of this podcast, including Red Nose and the Pink Elephants Support Network. Help is available. Hey everybody, it's Date with a Debut time. Nick here on beautiful Awabakal country in Newcastle, host of the show, and for today's episode we are diving into one of my absolute favourite genres, which is contemporary literary fiction and drama. For today, I'm joined by communications professional, tea and coffee drinker, Australian Writers' Centre alumni, Kylie Minogue fan, Katie Hoskins. We're here to talk about her addictive drama debut, When the Party's Over, published by the wonderful folks over at Pan Macmillan Australia. You can get it down in the description box of this podcast at your local bookstore, or indeed check it out at your local library. Joining me today, Katie, welcome to Date with a Debut.
Thank you so much, Nick, and thank you for that lovely welcome. I have not had Kylie Minogue fan in my bio before, so you've really been doing your research. Love it.
I cannot take credit for that one myself. It's courtesy of a fan on Goodreads who said that they bonded with you over conversations about Kylie Minogue. So full credit to that particular Goodreads reader whose name unfortunately escapes me right now, but I cannot take credit for it. But it's so lovely to have you on the show. As you kind of alluded to, anyone who kind of looks you up online, you work in comms, you're a communication specialist. You originally from the south of England before you came to Australia to do a journalism degree. You are now a writer. You are now a professional writer. At the time of us talking, this book has been out in the world for about 2 or 3 days. When the audience hears it, it'll be out for the best part of a month. Out of curiosity, to give you a softball opener, where do books sit in the world of Katie Hoskins?
Oh, that's a great question. I think all my life books have been very heavily featured. As a reader, obviously, not always as a book writer, although certainly when I was young, I wrote little stories and would have loved to have been an author, but would have never really had the confidence to think that was something I could actually do. So as the years have gone on, and I've always loved writing, but actually the concept of writing a book was definitely something that I grew into as I got older and more confident, and also more to that stage where, well, you might as well try, otherwise you never know. But books are such a big part of my life, and through this experience, certainly it's not all about my book. It's meeting the amazing Australian book community. It's the bookstagrammers, all the events you go to, and I've now got more books than ever that I want to read. And I think I'd like everybody just to not write for a whole year so I could catch up, actually, because I just keep building and building, because there's so many great authors here, and especially, here in Australia now, so many great books there to read.
That is so true. Like, it does feel like every time I do this podcast this year, the TBR pile gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. The amount of times I've said to authors and fellow writers, like, I'm so sorry I've fallen behind in your bibliography. It's not for lack of desire to read. It's just there's so much time. There's only so much time, and there's so many amazing books dropping all the time. But I love your story, actually, of your transition into writing. For anyone who hasn't checked it out, there's a great piece that you did on the Australian Writers Centre website. You talked about doing their classes. Talk to me about, like, I always love to start off these podcasts with kind of talking about an author's journey to publication somewhat, and you kind of did these classes with the Australian Writers Centre. Talk to me about your experience with them, but also how those particular classes that you did helped craft this story.
So the first course I did at the Australian Writers Centre was the big game changer for me. And that was just a 5 or 6 week course, creative writing. And it was that course that made me realise that there is it's in some ways something that can be learned, like writing a book. There's a formula, there's learning how to structure a novel, learning how to create characters and build them out. And I suppose that was what really made me realize that it's something that could be done. It wasn't just you had to sit down and know how to write a novel from start to finish. Then subsequent courses where I did a sort of longer course, which was a write a novel course. One of the amazing elements of that course particularly was workshopping with peers and receiving feedback and learning to be able to receive feedback, and to be honest, to be able to take that. I think the first time I had any negative feedback, I lay in bed for hours worrying about it and thinking, oh, this is terrible, I failed, like someone hates it. And then, you actually learn to not be so nervous in those situations and to take that feedback, which is invaluable, because when you do get to the point of having an agent or a publisher, there's a lot of feedback and a lot of stuff you've got to take in. And some of it might be cutting these scenes that you think are wonderful and are in your heart and you think are really integral to the story, but you've got to see someone else's perspective and understand how everything has to contribute to driving the story forward and the whole plot. And yeah, I have, like, as you said, I love courses. I'm happiest at school. I'm happy to go along and have lots of learning, lots of courses, and you learn something new every time. I also did the Faber Academy course more recently, and I kind of came into it with this book sort of finished, or what I thought was finished, but still absolutely from the tutors and the Faber course got so much useful feedback and learning, which just helped make it stronger.
I'm kind of glad that you mentioned feedback, because when you first initially cop it, it can often be such a brutal thing. But I've kind of got to this state of life where, like, you've written enough where I now love it when I find out, you found something wrong with my book. Great, I can fix it. Particularly if you're in the writing or editing stage. I actually view it in a positive way, even if I get a negative review now. Like, I was very happy when I get a 5-star review. I'm overjoyed when I get a 1-star review. For some reason, maybe it's just the fact that I've created something that no one's gonna like, and maybe that's fine. You've made something artistic. Some people are having a reaction to it. That, I guess, in a strange way, that means, yes, I created something that someone was willing to give a 1-star review to. Yay for me.
They cared enough to write it, I suppose. Yeah, and everyone is different. People aren't going to, I know there's things in my book that some people aren't going to like, and decisions the character makes that people aren't going to agree with, and that might upset someone to the point where they hate the book. But you have to take the rough with the smooth, don't you? Not everyone's going to give you 5 stars.
Ad break time. Stop the podcast. Hey everyone, just thought I'd stop to let you know that today's episode is sponsored by Podpixels, the Trent Dalton of professional podcast platforms. Question: do you have a desire for a great podcast?
How are you going to build it? What about the design work? Won't it cost a fortune? Fear not, for PodPixels is a simple, done-for-you website service built specifically for podcasts. They are here to deliver that professional look to your podcast to make it easier for listeners to find your show, and all for one great monthly price. From hobbyists to pros, PodPixels has you covered. Their team provides domains, website hosting, backup, security, and support, handling the full setup and making sure that your show is up to date and allowing you to focus on what you do best, podcast. With PodPixels, you can achieve your full podcasting vision. They are the ultimate one-stop solution for anyone looking to build an online home for their podcast. Check them out below in the show notes and tell them that Nick from Date with a Day Boo sent you. Thank you, PodPixels, for sponsoring the show.
The result of your hard work is this beautiful, wonderful book, which we now get to talk about, When the Party's Over. By the way, I love this cover. It's such a gorgeous cover. I appreciate lush, beautiful colors when I see it. But now we get to talk and dive into this book, and we're at the part of the show where I like to hit the author with a classic elevator pitch. I'm in the lift, you come in, we're going up. What is When the Party's Over about?
Natalie has a party for her 36th birthday. She's feeling overwhelmed with work, with motherhood, 3 kids under 6, and really just wants for one night to connect with her friends, escape the mundane, and feel like herself again. But the next day after the party, she'd do anything to have mundane back. She, when her children return home the day after the party, she finds her 18-month-old Toby with an ecstasy tablet with part missing. And from then on, her life is thrown into chaos. She's in a place where she's never been before. There's even though Toby is returned home safely, he's unharmed. There's a police investigation, social workers investigating, and really heartbreaking judgment from her local community. And her 2 best friends who have been at the party with her aren't there enough to support her because they've had life-changing dramas of their own as a result of the party.
Nailed it. Ding! We've arrived. I love it. And great pitch, great summary, and oh my word, this is a loaded story. I love how loaded this story is. It's a book. If I can try and summarize it in a way without being too spoilery, we'll touch on some light spoilers, but not enough to spoil this whole book. But from my own interpretation, this is a book about pressure, the pressure women put on each other. It's a book about self-identity. It's about jealousy. It's about isolation. It's about the impact and consequences of lying, the world of parenting. But also, ultimately, I think this book is about the comparison of what you do and don't have, and ultimately realizing the value in what you do have, if that makes sense. I think the ultimate end journey of it. This is an absolute favorite book of mine. And I got a sense, like, because I also reading in the build up of how this book was together, you I think was it your dad who recommended you do a writing course when you were on mat leave, and that is where this book kind of came into the mindset. I don't want to I could tell that these subjects and these topics were really on your mind at this particular point in time of your life, weren't they?
Yeah, that's absolutely right, Nick. So at the time, yes, my helpful dad did say, he didn't even suggest I did a course. He just suggested I write a book, let alone do the course. You'll be bored. You've got a year off looking after the baby. Why don't you do something useful? That kind of thing. But he did know that I always wanted to write. So it was definitely said with good intentions. And I would say absolutely at that time when I first started writing it, I was, not that the story is based exactly on my experience, but certainly a lot of those emotions, like having that period of life where you're leaving sort of one identity and trying to sort of reconcile with being in that next life phase. And certainly for me, like I came here from England, my friends and my friendship group have been really, really important in the same way that Natalie and her friends have been. And I really subscribe to that idea of the urban family or the chosen family. And as we get older, and I think particularly in that time in your sort of mid-late 30s, everyone, like regardless of having children or not, everyone's busier, and people are either more committed to their careers or they're just too tired to meet up for breakfast every morning and go out every night. So you end up having a lot less time with those people who have been really a key support network. And I absolutely had those feelings when I had young children, obviously not to take away from how much you love spending time with your children, but there's that piece missing where you used to have all that time to give to your friends and give to other people. And then, then throw, going back into the work in the mix as well. And the time is getting thinner and thinner. And certainly one of Natalie's sort of observations, and the other characters, in terms of them, every time they meet up now, there's kids there, they don't have a proper conversation. There's always interrupted, and they feel like they're just catching up and sort of maintaining rather than creating those new experiences together. So that's certainly a life phase, which I can happily say now, because like I said, this book took a while. You do come out the other side of that.
I was just going to say that maybe this is a reason why I really connected with it, because you're talking about a period of time that I'm kind of going through right now. All my friends are now settling down, having kids. My partner and I are having those conversations as well. We're talking about that, when that's going to happen. It's the start. You're moving away from the life that you have where you're the kind of center of it, and it's the start of the other centered life for people who want to have children. And people are also busy. They've got careers. They've got this, which I think is also why it's so telling that when people finally do have the chance to let loose, they really do. I want to talk about these big topics and discussions. We'll dive into these characters as well. But I just first of all want to shout out this party, this setup that you have delivered. You nailed this crazy party and adventure in the first 6 chapters of this book. All of the stuff happening in the background, almost feels like a murder mystery, not without a murder, although it very, very nearly becomes one in the subsequent effects afterwards. But when you bring a parent's absolute nightmare to the page when Toby is found with this pill in his mouth. Talk to me. I just have a craft question. It's more of a craft question than personality. Talk to me about writing that segment, because all of the ripple effects come off the back of this wild night where everyone is drunk. The feeling of losing control is slipping slowly as each chapter moves along. It's a segment I loved of this book. Just if you're in your 30s and you don't have any kids or responsibility around, I'm going to drink a lot. I'm going to have a crazy night out and have fun.
Yeah, thank you. I really enjoyed writing those parts as well. I really enjoyed writing about the party, and I knew that I wanted the party to be that catalyst for lots of events and things that happen that maybe don't come clear until later on in the book, but that all sort of started there. And it's a really nice opportunity because you can have a few, I've got the 3 point of view characters, and being able to, they're all in slightly different places, and their experience of the party is obviously a little different. Amanda was kind of going into that party a little bit I don't want to get drunk. I don't want to lose control like my friends are. So her view is this party's terrible. This is, I'm not even getting the time with my friends because they're all so bloody drunk and they're just doing their thing. And then some of the other characters were maybe letting loose a little bit more. And I really enjoyed exploring that from their different points of view. I found it very hard to try and write someone that was getting drunk. I literally had to Google, how do you... Because my agent kept saying to me after my first draft, she's like, I need Lisa to be more drunk. It's how do you show someone that's drunk without it just sounding really bad in the writing? Because no one actually wants to read, point of view dialogue from someone that's really sketchy and all over the place. So it did take a few tries. It was quite a balance between still making it readable and the thoughts coherent enough for it to be, to be an interesting story that you can follow, but also showing that sort of slip into things getting a bit wild and people starting to lose control a little bit.
This book is told from the perspective, you bounce back and forth from the perspective of 3 different women all dealing with different pressures, different consequences of the night of this party. And I think it's the best places to start is with
Natalie. Oh, poor Natalie. She seems to have it all together on the outside with Ben, her husband. She's got the suburban house. She's got the kids. I love how early on in the book she kind of describes motherhood as a combination of business and boredom. That this is a relationship that's in a bit of a rut. Like, couldn't be asked feels like her default position. And I love the scene. I love the scene with Bree, who at the party where she's like, "Oh, I want to be like what you have. I want to be like what you've got with the husband and the kids." And she just goes, "Girl, enjoy your freedom. Please enjoy your freedom." I just love that particular scene. It tells me so much about her. First of all, tell me about Nat and this poor journey she goes through.
Natalie has always, she wants to be everything to everyone, and I think that's, a lot of us can probably relate to that. She does want to. She had a good education, so she wants to have a good job. She wants to, keep her professional life and have a career, but then she also does have her 3 young children, and she has the pressure to be the perfect mum. She has to get involved with the school and do the events committee at the school and give up the time there. And so the thing that is really being squeezed out for her is really that time with her mates, with her friends, because literally the practicalities of it, and her partner, and she's got a lovely partner, her husband, but he also works very hard, and he's kind of taken on more of that sort of mindset of he has to work very hard, and she's maybe left with a little bit more then of the childcare. She's the daughter in the family. She also has that with her original family. She has that expectation of if there's something to organize, it's Natalie that does it, not her lazy little brother. So she's just pulled in a lot of directions, I suppose, and she wants to, and she's starting to feel that loss of self, that loss of identity. So when she has this party, that's just what she wants, and she's lost a bit of her confidence at that scene that you referred to with Bree, the younger woman from her office. She sort of feels this, I guess, sort of nostalgia in a way, like this young woman, that was what she was like, but now she feels so different. Like, are my clothes unfashionable? Am I like a little bit overweight now? All these kind of things that, after having kids, you just feel like you're not quite fitting into that original world anymore. So, but then, of course, when this happens, when this incident with Toby happens, naturally for her, the feeling is then huge guilt, because it's, although it, wasn't directly her fault, she feels she wanted to have the party. She wanted to kind of take a night off from being a mum. She wanted to do these things, spend time with her friends, and then this was the consequence for her. And of course, I think a lot of there is this pressure for women with young children, in that you must always put them first, and you must always want to do whatever you need to do with them before anything else. So then there's this ongoing sort of push pull, kind of the guilt of doing anything for yourself or outside of your family responsibilities. She feels, and I never wanted the reader to judge her. It was more those people around, and most of all her judging herself and going, if I hadn't put myself first this one time, then this wouldn't have happened.
Yeah, like, talking about the way people look at poor Nat after this, it's like for me, I really noticed it with her mum in the hospital, kind of how scathing she is when she kind of goes, I'm going to be Toby's advocate in hospital, even though Nat herself is right there. All of there's a whole subtext around a play date that suddenly gets cancelled and put off. All the people in the school environment carry judgment. How could you let your children near drugs? And I kind of was also thinking to myself, there were so many comments directed on her as, how could this mum do this? Which I thought was particularly pointed, because it also made me think, how much of this is Ben getting, considering, he's also a parent in here. That even the scene where Toby gets sick midway through the book carries so much trauma in it because you don't want a repeat of that happening as well. And as you kind of correctly point out, Ellen feels like the social worker almost feels like a shark circling around this life that she has somewhat. What I was kind of thinking about was like, poor Joni, her daughter. Oh, my thoughts were, I didn't want, like, there was such a great comparison of this family dynamic, of the pressures that mothers put on their daughters. I kind of noticed a parallel between Judith, Nat's mum, and Joni, her daughter, because there's this scene where Ellen speaks to Joni, and poor Joni, like, she's such a young child and she's being told she has to look after her brothers, she has to be responsible for them, and she doesn't know what this drug is that was in her brother's mouth. And of course she breaks down. Like, it's so much responsibility to put on a young child, and it's such an ugly scene. And in terms of also how Ben and Nat respond to it, it's like I found it like Nat views this whole situation as like, even though, you know, she's not fully responsible for this scenario and this situation, she beats the shit out of herself in terms of, I committed a crime. What I've done, my failings are the same as committing a crime because I failed as a mum. And it talks to me about that whole idea of that pressure of being put on because of this one moment that wasn't entirely her fault.
Well, I think that I know when I had my children when they were very young, I would read articles about things that had happened and, you know, that stemmed from that moment of inattention, you know, like these sort of tragic occurrences that happen, and you kind of reassure yourself, oh, well, that would never happen to me. You know, I wouldn't ever leave the pool gate open, or I wouldn't ever let go of my child's hand when we're crossing the road, or whatever those moments are, because you want to kind of protect your mind, protect yourself from kind of going there, that thinking that this could happen. But of course, these kind of things can happen to anyone. And I think as a parent, and I'm not quite sure why, but I think the mothers do get that stronger sort of blame, and they get that stronger sort of responsibility or culpability, even I don't know, this, at a basic level. If a male parent, if a dad goes out and is out one night, no one would say, oh, where's who's looking after your baby, who's looking after your child? But as a female, it's like, oh, who's looking? Oh, is the dad babysitting? That sort of thing. And so I think there's all these little small little triggers that then make you as a mother take this sort of bigger sense of responsibility. And there was I won't say the names, but there was an incident where something similar happened with some celebrities in the UK years ago, I think a couple of decades ago, where a young child toddler found an ecstasy pill on the floor of a nightclub, and it was a children's party, and it was all very innocent situation. But the way that the media attacked the mother, but not the father, you know, he wasn't mentioned. It was like the mother, she was being such a bad mother, letting her child be in that sort of situation. And so I think for Natalie, and look, I don't think Natalie never certainly wanted Joni, her daughter, to take any feeling of responsibility. But I think it's that older child thing where, you know, if you're the older child with a couple of younger siblings, your parents will say, oh, you know, you've got a little brother or sister to look after, and can you look after them? And they do. And then I think you, possibly male or female, as the oldest child, you do have this feeling of that responsibility to your younger siblings, and feel like you should have been the one to take care of them or to look after them. And I think in terms of Natalie's mum, she has very fixed ideas, or at least that's how it seems at first. Natalie feels like her mum has very fixed ideas about what parenting should be and how she should be as a mum, and she reacted very badly because she was also very, very scared and very thrown that this could have happened to her grandson. But poor Natalie takes on it all.
Yeah, she does take on so much. And there's a great scene with her mum later in the book as well, where they talk about the comparisons of being parents. Judith had to be a stay-at-home, whereas you know, Natalie also still has the career in the background, despite there's so many instances where Ben says, maybe you should stop that. I'm making enough money. I'm doing, that. Maybe you should just be the permanent stay-at-home mum. And there's a great scene where they talk about, that Judith never really enjoyed that environment of being the stay-at-home mum. And then Nat goes like, I thought you enjoyed all the cooking and cleaning. She goes, I bloody well don't, which was such an interesting scene. She goes, the whole idea was that, the whole idea is I didn't even have the idea of a choice in the matter. And choice is a very similar situation for Lisa as well. I think Lisa's a great character because, pressure's also on her. In a completely different scenario. She's been single for 7 years. She's at this job that she hates. She's got this frustrating housemate. She's in that point of her life where she is seeing all of her friends having kids and is under feels that pressure to have children. And then whenever she's asked about it, she goes, well, I don't want to not have the choice to have kids, which is the pressure that she feels. And there's a very, very, very major plot point around Lisa that we will not go into for spoilers. But tell me about Lisa. I think she's a great character, particularly because she's the only one out of this trio that doesn't have children and is in that similar setting.
Yeah, and I love Lisa as well. And I think it's a really particular age, that kind of between 35 and 40, where there is a lot of pressure on people to, that kind of pressure, like you should have sorted your life out by now. You should have bought a house by now. You should have a proper career. You should, if that's your choice, you should be having kids now. And Lisa's always been a bit more of a free spirit. She loves adventure. She wanted to get away from the sort of suburban environment that she grew up in, and she didn't want to follow what she sees as being a sort of quite unexciting route. She didn't want to settle down, have kids, buy a house, and all those. She wanted to enjoy her life. However, she is also at that stage where a lot of people around her are doing that, so she feels a little bit on the outer, because naturally those conversations, when you're in a big group, those conversations are all going back to those kind of topics which she can't get involved in. Obviously, I mean, I remember being a friend without kids, and when you meet up with your friends that have kids, it can be annoying sometimes, because you love their children, but you don't want every time you catch up with your friend to be like standing around a playground or that you always have to go to them because their kids have got their nap time, or quite often those kind of routines of people with children like end up kind of taking that precedence. And Lisa just wants her friends to be her mates again, and then she sort of also feels that, well, if she doesn't, what if she regrets it in another 5 years or another 10 years? And maybe she should have been a bit more sensible. Maybe she should have saved money. She should have got herself a bit more sorted in life at this point, rather than kind of jumping from job to job and traveling and so on. So her kind of crossroads, I think, are, really what comes next for her in life, because everyone around her seems to be moving on and settling down, and she feels like she's kind of the same position as she was in 10 years earlier.
And the events of this party really play a massive part in her journey. The last of this trio of characters is, of course, Amanda, who at the start of the party is dealing with her partner Sammy, who is she's getting very drunk. Mandy is really struggling with that. There is a whole story about those two and Sammy's infertility struggles. They're trying to have a kid. She's also someone who struggles to be comfortable with her sexuality as a lesbian couple. She's not someone who has even spoken explicitly about it to her own parents. There's a lot of tension in this relationship between these two at this particular point in time, to the point where Sammy accuses Mandy of being controlling, of like, you want to be on top of everything. But I kind of really connected a lot with, on the topic of people having to take responsibility, I really connected with Mandy a lot, because she is just trying to put she's just trying to solve all of these big issues herself, and sometimes she can just, I'm taking over and taking control of this situation in a way that isn't helpful to other people, but at the same time, you can see why she's doing it. She's a very key crux in this trio. Tell me a little bit about Mandy, because God, so many challenges that they go through, particularly a very upsetting scene early on in the book because they were hoping that Sammy is pregnant in a particular scene as well.
And I think so. Amanda she's a woman who has always, she works hard, she gets the grades, she knows she knows the steps she needs to take to get to her goal, and she's quite goal orientated, I suppose. She came over to Australia from England. If she wants a particular job, or she wants to buy a house, or all of those sort of other life goals, she's organized and she's strategic and knows how to get to it. So for her, then she's got this partner, Sammy, who she's madly in love with, and she wants her and Sammy to get married, and she wants them to have 2 children. And she had planned, I'll have the first baby, Sammy can have the second baby. And now her plans are unraveling because Sammy, like you said, has she's got fertility struggles, but she won't address them. And Amanda wants to solve things, and her approach is, find out what's going on, so that we can work out a solution, because she wants to be able to solve all the problems. But she's sort of at a stalemate. She's up against it because Sammy, for her own reasons, which will come later in the book, doesn't want to investigate things. Sammy won't talk about marriage. Sammy's got some discomfort, like you mentioned, with her own parents and how they accept their relationship, and so which Amanda has not experienced herself. So she's now really at a loss, really, of what to do, and then that ends up playing into her own insecurities, because she feels, if Sammy won't try and won't kind of come along with me for this journey and try and solve these problems, then does she really want to be with me in the first place? And Amanda also, she really did want to be there for Natalie. She wants to, the 3 of them are sort of equal best friends, but the 2 of them both kind of really want to be Natalie's number 1 friend. So there's a tiny bit of rivalry in there. And Amanda wants to always be the go-to. She's not as confident in herself as, she hasn't got the big extended circle of friends that maybe the other 2 women have. And she really, really relies on Natalie's friendship as this key friendship, Natalie and her husband, Ben. And so when the events of the party unravel, it's also, it's really challenging for Amanda, because she can't be there for them in the way that she wants to be.
Yeah, there's a great subtext to all of this as well, which there's a great couple of scenes early on that the very first scene is like a prologue of the book, which kind of is a flash before we kind of flash back to the events of the party. And there's a kind of the final line is where Nat says she has to keep lying. And I feel like there's a bit of a subtext throughout the story. There's also a great scene later with Natalie where she kind of says, we all do these things to kind of, these small little things, we do these little lies to ourselves to escape the grind of life, to help us get through the day. And I feel like, in a way, lying is kind of an interesting part of the story, because all of these people, including Ben as well, who we haven't kind of talked about as Natalie's husband, they all kind of lie in each other to a way, either doing something to try and protect others, but more frequently it's to protect themselves from a truth that they don't want to face or struggle to face. We all kind of, and the whole idea of that lie, of that sort of lying, is that we all feel and experience that incomplete feeling that we're not fully complete in life, which is a challenging thing to examine, to dissect in a book like this, although I think you've done a bloody great job given these many different characters. Out of curiosity, do you think humans actually have the capacity to break that feeling and ultimately find solace in what they have? Do you think it's something that we could do?
That's a deep one. do think. I hope so. Yes, I think to your point, people do tell little lies or hide parts of themselves, I guess, from other people. And you're right, that is apparent in all of those characters in different ways, that they're holding back parts of themselves. And I think we all do that. Like, you see someone, how are you today? You don't tell them everything. Yeah, great, thanks. Because you don't always want to be vulnerable and share that biggest part of yourself with everyone. I suppose in terms of being happy with what you've got, I don't know, I'm sure there are some people, but I think most of us, we keep wanting more. Like, the goalposts change, like you achieve one thing that you want to achieve, and then you think, oh, I should now strive for this next thing, or I should have done that better. I think that's human nature. Yeah.
I think that it'll always be a universal problem, because the interesting thing about these intersecting stories is there often is that comparison of what this person has versus what this person doesn't have, and it often means that you lose track of what is in front of you. But it's such a great story and an intertwining story that you've crafted, and I devoured this. I loved it. It was so much fun. Out of curiosity, and it's my last question about the book, what did writing, the engaging in this exercise, what did writing when the party's over teach you, be it Katie the person, Katie the writer, Katie the human on this planet?
Yeah, that's a great question. Actually, I think to your point, it did teach me to share more with friends. Like, what Natalie's journey definitely taught me was ask for what you want. If there's things that you're unhappy with, or things you want to change, you need to tell people. You need to actually put that out there, because otherwise no one's going to know. Certainly the value of friendship, as I was through the process of writing this story, and actually some of that nostalgia, like, reflecting on my own experiences, did really remind me of that importance of having that balance in life. And sometimes you have to really make that effort, and you have to do things when you're tired, or do that extra step to be able to maintain those important, really, really important parts of life. Yeah, and just writing it, honestly, it just taught me, like, you can do a lot of things if you break them into very small pieces. You can achieve a lot in half an hour, and then lots of half an hours together can be something that you really want to do.
True words have never been spoken. It is the universal truth about when it comes to writing the damn thing. Sometimes all those half hours stack up. As long as you keep doing those half hours is what matters.
Hey everyone, Nick here. I'm excited to announce that I've launched a brand new book newsletter featuring book reviews, recommendations, latest news from the publishing world, opinion pieces, short stories, and more. One monthly newsletter, no spam, just the good book stuff. The sort of email you're glad shows up in your inbox. Sign up now for free, and for a small additional monthly fee, get early access to Date with a Debut episodes and exclusive content, including special extra episodes with our guests, Second Date, where they run another gauntlet of rapid-fire questions. Subscribe to my newsletter in the show notes below.
Before we dive into the rapid-fire question part of the show, I actually also want to add, we have, for the first time ever doing this show, I actually have a giveaway. We have 4 copies of Katie Hoskins' book to give away, which will start from this giveaway will run from the release date of this podcast, which is the 28th of April, and will run until the end of May. So if you want to get a free copy of Katie Hoskins' book, you can enter by liking a social post that will be posted on my Instagram account, and you can subscribe to my newsletter, Nick's newsletter of bookie stuff, for your chance to win. But now we're going to dive into a rapid fire part of the date, where I basically fling a bunch of questions at Katie, and Katie has to give me the first answers that comes to her head. Katie, are you ready?
Okay. Oh, yes, I'm ready. Fingers crossed.
Prepare yourself. No, it's not this game. So the first question, I like to start with kind of talking about your reading habits, because being a lover of writing, we also usually are, it goes hand in hand with a lover of reading. What's your favourite book that you've read in the last 12 months?
Oh, in the last 12 months, there's so many. I'm going to go for The Farm by Jessica Mansonara. I hope I pronounced her name right, but I loved that. Oh, yeah. Oh, you've got a sort of different cover. That must be an art cover, is it?
It's a what's it called? ARC, advanced reading copy.
Yeah,
cover.
the art cover. Yeah, because I read that because she was doing a launch, and I went along to the launch, and I was really blown away. I didn't expect, just by looking at the cover, I didn't know what to expect, I suppose. And I just thought the writing was beautiful. I just felt like tense, like sick the whole time I was reading it, in a good way, because I didn't know what was going to happen. And then it really had such a surprising ending. And yeah, I've recommended that book to loads of people over the last, however long, the last 9 months, because that was a real standout to me.
Yeah, I got to have a chat with her on the show about that book. Oh my God, it was amazing. I loved that. I think I also connected with it because I grew up on a farm myself. Protect Rusty. Yeah. That's all I'm going to say. Save Rusty and everything he stands for.
I was going to say, never in a book can I think of a time when I have become so invested in an animal character, in a dog, and I really did. You're right. In that book, I was really like, oh, he's such a beautiful character.
It's so true. What's your favorite debut? What's your favorite debut novel that you've ever read?
Ever? What springs to mind is, I think this was her debut. Yes, it was. Dolly Alderton, Everything I Know About Love. Have you read that one?
Oh, yes. Great book. That's a great answer.
So good. Yeah. And it was a few years ago, but gosh, just from page one, I thought, oh my God, I'm going to love this woman. It was like hanging out with someone and just listening all the time. It's so good. It's fun.
That's a fantastic answer to that question. All right, I'm going to get the obvious question out of the way, because Margaret Atwood, when she wrote The Handmaid's Tale, said everything that I put in that book had happened at some point in reality, at some point in time. Was the party based on a real party?
No, it definitely wasn't based on a real party, I promise.
Thank God.
But no, but I will say there's little bits that, one of my best friends just read the book last week on holiday, and he was texting me with just little quotes, little maybe things that someone said, or little personality traits, and he was like, this reminds me of this reminds me of this, and it was all different things, but it's like one of those little jigsaw puzzles, or paintings where you've got little real bits in there, and they will make up a brand new picture.
That is always true. You always steal specific moments. It's a very effective technique. Off the back of that, Brie comes up to you. Going back to that scene with Brie and Nat at the party, she comes up to you and says the same things that she says to Nat. What do you say to her? Do you say the exact same things that Nat would say, or would you say something differently?
What do you mean when she says about
I want to have what you have. I want to have what you have. Okay. That responds live your life.
Sorry, I just wanted to check because there was something else she said.
Yeah, that's true.
Yes, I no, sorry. I'd say no, thank you. So I think, yes, I would say the same. I would say, God, to a young person now, don't try to age yourself up and feel like you have to achieve everything so quickly, because the best thing you can have is experiences and memories, right? When we're all old, we want to look back on our lives and see lots of chapters. My older brother always used to say to me, just think of your life as a book and just try and have lots and lots of different chapters and different experiences. And yeah, I think that's what I would recommend.
Do you have a favorite word?
Favorite words, like an overused word, or just so when
sometimes people like to answer this question with a word that came up constantly when I was in the draft, because everyone has that one word that the editor goes, can you please delete that? I'm just talking about general words that you can enjoy in life too. I will accept any answer.
Thank you. Okay, so something my 7-year-old son taught me recently was wow words. Have you heard of that? Wow words. So this is like a bit of a cheat. It's a group of words. I was writing something on my Instagram and my son came over and said, Mummy, you need to use more wow words. You can't use pleased or good. You have to say delighted or fantastic or so excited. So that's my favorite category, wow words. And then if I was going to have one that I have to edit out, whenever I write an email, even, I have to take out the word lovely, because I usually put it about 5 times. Like, oh, this lovely person, and they said this lovely thing, and I think, oh God, that's so repetitive. So I think that's my favorite word, lovely.
That's a good word. I like that. And I appreciate that wow words just literally be more hyperbolic. Go way over the top.
Yeah.
That's the new generation of wow words.
Yeah.
You're a Kylie Minogue fan. You, according to a reader on Goodreads, we alluded to it a little bit earlier. What are your top 3 Kylie Minogue songs?
Oh, I love this. I've got a Kylie WhatsApp group, and they're going to really make sure I get this right. All right. Number 1 of all time, Love at First Sight. Number 2, Better the Devil You Know. There used to be, when I was younger and I lived in London, there was a club we used to go to, and at midnight they would always play Better the Devil You Know, and then all the balloons and confetti would come down from the ceiling. That was really good. And then number 3, I'm going to say All the Lovers, because it's got such beautiful music in it, and it's got a really great melody and arrangement.
Excellent answer. I appreciate that. There's there's so many good songs in Kylie's catalog. I feel like it's such a hard question to ask. So I appreciate how well you navigated that. I don't know why. I've got a soft spot for Can't Get You Out of My Head. Like that whole album.
Yes.
Banger. Slow. I don't know why I really remember like the days of listening to Slow. And even the more recent one, Dancing. I love the song Dancing. I think that's such a cute
song. It's fun. She just does banger after banger, doesn't she? I was telling my son the other day in the car, like when I got the Light Years album for the first time when I was, in my late teens, I just remember like listening to it over and over again, and that's got, like I'm spinning around and So Now Goodbye and all that real disco stuff. But she never doesn't deliver.
Yeah, I love her. And then last question for this round. Are you happy?
Oh, yes, thank you. I'm really happy. Happy right now. Yeah, it's a good stage in life, I think. I feel like lots of good things are happening. Things are good. Very lucky, really. Like we all are, being here. We've got lots to be thankful for, and very happy, especially when I listen to Kylie songs.
Amen to that. I feel like maybe we should do for your next book, maybe you should try and sneak in a playlist of Kylie songs in there somewhere somehow. Like maybe have a character who's just completely obsessed with Kylie. We'll make it happen.
Okay, good idea. I did sneak in a mention of Kylie Minogue in the book. And I intend to do that in every book going forward. I'm going to put a little mention of Kylie or a Kylie song in, just a little Easter egg in there somewhere.
Go hunting for it, listeners. But I'm happy because I got to chat with you today about your amazing, wonderful, fantastic drama, When the Party's Over. For everyone who's listening, if you want to find out more, we're literally about to record a second episode straight after this called Second Date, where I chat more with Katie about her reading habits. You can get access to that by signing up to our newsletter as well. There'll be links in the description to that. We've also got a giveaway, 4 copies to give away, which runs until the 31st of May. Be sure to like that little description on my Instagram page and sign up to be eligible. But in the meantime, if you haven't, you can get a copy of When the Party's Over. It's published by Pan Macmillan now. Thank you to them so much. You can get a copy in the description. You can check it out in your local libraries as well. Thank you so much. It's been such a privilege having you on Date with a Debut.
Thank you so much, Nick. Thank you for having me, and I've really had fun. It's been so much fun. It's lovely to chat to you. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to today's episode of Date with a Debut, and for listening to the Words and Nerds channel. You can buy all books mentioned in today's episode down in the description box, and if you enjoyed the show, drop us a review, leave us 5 stars or a thumbs up wherever you get your podcasts. If you want to hear episodes when they drop, be sure to subscribe to Words and Nerds, or you can subscribe to Date with a Debut on Podbean to hear the latest episodes as they drop. This episode was edited and produced by myself, Nick Wasiliev. Additional production credits to Danny V from Words and Nerds, music by Shakira HZ, and thanks to the publishers and authors who make this show possible. This show is sponsored by Podpixels. Date with a Debut is a Words and Nerds and Breathe Art podcast co-production, recorded and edited on the lands of the Awurungal people.